All right, what's going on, everyone? I am joined here today by Greg Alpatov. What's going on, Greg?
So many things. So many good things.
So many things. Yes, I love to hear it. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today, and we're just going to riff. And so, let's start it up. Greg, why don't you just very briefly tell us a little bit about how we met and kind of like our relationship and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think you were my coach for 2-3 years, something like that.
Yeah. I think,
Online coach. Yeah. This is actually the first time we're meeting in person. Which is such a testament to like how like evolved the whole online coaching platform is and how effective it is. You don't really need to meet in person.
It's so true. Yeah. So true. I've worked with guys from all over the world, and it's always extra special when you get to actually meet them in person. So,
totally.
So I'm really happy that we were able to connect. Let's talk about a couple things. You know, we just launched ManEvolved. So
looks dope.
Thank you, brother. Yeah. So basically, you know what? In a nutshell, we're working with guys. Primarily, let's say age 30 to 50. Guys, not too different than yourself, right? You're in sales, correct?
Yeah, tech sales.
Tech sales. So yeah, we're working with a lot of business professionals, executives, entrepreneurs, just a lot of high performing guys that need to really be at the top of their game. And so, I'm excited to share that with everyone, and also, talk about a couple things that we've sort of learned through the years working with one another. Yeah. So,
amazing.
Why don't you?
I love that.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
You know, when you and I talk every once in a while, I always say like, it's so mind-boggling to me that people pay money for like the dumbest stuff, but when it comes to like their health and their personal, like their fitness, their nutrition, they'll refuse to pay. You know what I mean? Like even the idea, like working with a coach is it's cheaper than working with like a personal trainer and a nutritionist. But even if you were to work with a personal trainer and nutritionist, like one-on-one, that's like what, 10, 12,000 a year, right? And it's like you get one car per lifetime, you know?
Warren Buffett quote.
Yeah, I didn't know. I just You get one car, you might as well take care of it. Like,
100%.
You know, and it's like, so I'm always saying to like people, like work with coaches, you know, like I think you and I talk about this all the time about education, right? People don't know anything about, like, I didn't know anything, right? I thought my weight, my health, my nutrition, my fitness was a number on a scale, right? If I'm X, then I'm bad. If I'm Y, then I'm good, right? So you taught me about body fat percentage, about, supplementation, about testosterone, human growth hormone, right? All these natural occurring things that you don't know, stress levels, how it affects your mental well-being, sexual well-being, everything, right? So very important, I wish this platform be very blessed and it spreads as much as possible. And, if you could reach one more person and give them a little bit more of an education, then, I think you've done your job for sure.
Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you, man. So I'm not going to bore everyone too much with my story, but basically, just to kind of go off what you're saying.
What is your story, by the way?
My story.
You're a pharmacist, right?
Yeah. So I started my career as a pharmacist, and something crazy happened very early on. I was in very bad shape, like similar to like I didn't know anything about health.
You got some numbers to back that up?
Yeah, I was. Man, I'll throw some B-roll maybe in this. I'll throw some before and after photos even. I'll do you one better. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was probably pushing like 260, which doesn't sound too bad. But
how tall are you?
I'm 5'10", and the thing is, it's what I always used to tell you is like it's more about not the number on the scale, but like body fat percentage and muscle and all these different factors. So
of course, yeah.
I was not a.
What was your body fat percentage?
Oh man, I mean, 30s, 40s.
Oh, okay,
it was up there. I had probably B cup.
Yeah.
Boobs.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
not to mention that's like pre-diabetic.
yeah,
right?
yeah. So I was just a mess. And working in the pharmacy, I was doing 13-hour shifts,
Yeah.
crazy stressful, getting yelled at by customers, doctors, insurance companies, you name it, corporate. So it was not a fun time. I got very sick, and I've had this crazy fatigue. Nothing would resolve it. So it doesn't matter if I slept the whole day, it doesn't matter, and like took vitamins, took whatever, nothing worked. So I was basically forced to learn all the stuff that I'm now teaching today.
Yeah.
So in a way, I'm very blessed that like I was able to come out the other side and not only like completely turn my life around, but actually now help other people as well. So
Dope.
you know, that's really the driving force behind this new Man Evolved movement is really to just help guys get to the top of their game. It's like no matter where you're starting at, you don't have to be like as severely messed up as I was, but just if you have that desire, because like let's face it, we live in a hyper competitive world, so we really don't have a choice but to become the best version of ourselves, in my opinion. You know, because there's always going to be somebody there waiting to take your job, or you know, if you're not treating your significant other right, or you're not making her happy or him happy or whatever, you know, like, that, you know, someone's always going to be there, and you need to be on top of your game.
Yeah, the way that I like to look at it is a little less like dog eat dog. Although I mean, it's not true. Is that you get whatever you give in life. You choose the level that you're at, right? There's no, you know, we're all adults, right? We're not children. There's no like handicap. There's no like mystery magic world of like you're just gonna get it just because like you deserve something. No,
Right.
if you want to be at that level, if you want to be whatever, if you want to not take care of yourself, and that goes into all facets of life, right? Then you're going to be at that level, right? If you want to take it to the next level, if you want a better career, if you want a better social life, if you want a better husband, wife, mate, then you know you gotta put in the work, because you get, you know, the universe gives you whatever you give. So, you know,
100%. I agree with you. There. So
that's why it's so important. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's it really is, and I think it's relevant now like more than ever.
Yeah.
So so like again, I'm super excited to be sharing this.
Yeah.
And you know, you and I, we have like a lot of interesting conversations because we're on the same page.
Yeah.
When it comes to a lot of things.
Yeah. Totally.
And so you're one of the clients that I feel very like I could speak freely and openly with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically going back to what I was saying before is just, you know, being in that dark hole, it was like probably like the worst thing in the world. I wouldn't wish that upon anybody.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I know.
You know, having come out of there and now, okay, I have a roadmap. It's like I feel almost like it would be doing the world a disservice if I didn't share all this stuff. So that's kind of what brought us here today, and talk a little bit more about this. But
it's funny you say that, because I remember, you know, when I was listening to you, what really prompted my fitness journey, and this is a little bit before I started working with you. It was one of those like throwing things at the wall and hoping things would stick moment where I was like doing Orange Theory, and I got nothing bad to say about Orange Theory. It's a great exercise program, just like cardio, you know. I was actually, before I did that, I was 276 pounds. Still have like the whole log of everything, right? And I'm 6 feet, and I have pictures, which I'm happy to share with you, like just for the B-roll as well. And you could tell I must have been over like 40% body fat at that point. But what made it worse is I was starting my career in tech sales, like year 2, and I was on a demo selling a accounting software for restaurants at the time, right? I was on a demo, and the demos are pretty long because I'm talking to like CFOs, controllers, accountants, and I'm halfway through the demo, and I'm out of breath, sitting in a heated office in Manhattan, right, in a nice chair, out of breath, right? Not walking, I'm not doing anything, I'm out of breath, right? And then at that moment, I was like, all right, something's terribly wrong here. I was like 27, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, I got to change something. So,
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, you mentioned you come from a sales background.
Yeah.
So I think like just for fun, why don't we talk a little bit about, in your opinion, what do you feel like the biggest objections are to people investing in bettering their health, bettering their performance, bettering their fitness, et cetera, et cetera? Like, what do you, in your expertise, what would you say is like a lot?
Yeah, I think there's two things that I think about, and I kind of share this with people, right? And sometimes I'm effective with people that are smart and open, and sometimes I'm not effective with people that are just closed. The biggest thing I think is the what's the term? DIY. That's where you're really competing with yourself. Everyone is like things you could do it themselves, right? In my life, I'm a firm believer. Like, I have a niche of how I like make money and how what I like to do and what I'm good at, and I just go all in on that. Like, I have a financial advisor, right? Somebody that like takes my money and like puts it in different places. I guess I could invest time and learn that stuff and understand it and do it myself, but why that? Why not hire somebody that their full-time focus is like going all in on that? Like, that's one end of the spectrum, right? I also don't like I don't do deep cleanings of my home, right? I have someone come and that cleans, right? I guess I could do it, right? But why would I do it? I have somebody that does this professionally, comes and does it, right?
Yeah.
It's the same idea, right? I think we're all part of like a cosmic, like unified consciousness, and we all have our little place, right? Like, I'm in tech sales. I do other things on the side in terms of mentoring, but really that's what I'm doing, and I should go on that. I shouldn't spend any time focusing on doing other things, right? I should automate these processes so I could just make more money what I'm doing, and then I could have all that stuff worked out. So fitness is like the most important thing, right? You get one car per lifetime, and you got to take care of it. So why not, if you're, if you're making six figures and up, like, and if health and fitness is important to you, why not invest, 10, 15 grand a year, $5,000, whatever it is, work out a program with an online coach and just automate that part too. So you don't have to think about it, right? I bring up Orange Theory, like in my beginning of my fitness journey, and I still love these classes, right? What makes it such a powerful business model is that, unlike going to a big box gym, all you have to do is just show up and you let someone else do the thinking for you, right? That's it. It's the same idea with working with coaches, right? Like, all you got to do, and on one hand, right, is just show up and let that person teach you and guide you through the process. And then during that process, then you could actually learn a thing or two. Because you and I always talk about how ridiculous our education system is. Right. No one teaches us the things that I was taught. However, I learned, like, I know, like, the year that Christopher Columbus came to the United States.
Or the Pythagorean theorem, right? or something, right? It's,
like, why don't I know about, like, macros?
Right.
Or, like, or like learning about resistance training and how important it is for your health, right? Or, body fat percentage. So if that makes sense, it's like twofold, right?
Yes.
It's automating the processes that you should be focused. You should be focused your time and energy on what you specialize in, and then, getting an education around these things to be able to be a more efficient version of yourself.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. I definitely agree. I think you and I happen to think the same way.
Yeah.
It's like a matter of automating and delegating and just valuing your time more than, like, I don't want to say like valuing your time more than money, but in some ways that's what it is. It's like, I'm willing to invest this money so that I don't have to, like, trial and error and like you said, throw everything at the wall, figure things out myself. Because I'll be honest with you, Greg, my journey took probably like 2.5 years. And, like, knowing what I know now, I might have been able to accomplish the same results in like 4 and 5 months.
100%.
So it's like,
and you're like a wealth of knowledge. You know,
I mean, yeah. So like for everyone watching, like I graduated, I have my doctor of pharmacy degree. Like I come from like I'm classically trained in our medical system,
Yeah.
for better or worse. But well, I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But so it's not like I'm not just your average like Joe Schmo trainer down the block.
right.
But even so, there was still so much
Right.
that I didn't know, and I had to like figure it out and trial and error. So yeah, that's definitely a big barrier.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that they could do it themselves, and I think it's possible for sure, but we're talking about guys like us that are on a mission where we have goals, we're driven, we're ambitious. Do we really have time and it's also money too sometimes, like throwing money at this supplement, throwing money at this latest fancy biohacking device, like
Gym memberships that you don't end up going to.
Exactly. All of this
Yeah.
is you gotta
Supplements, protein powders, all this stuff that you waste money on.
figure that out. Is like what's your time really worth, and how much do you want to, like, one of my mentors always used to say, you could pay now or you could pay later.
Yeah.
But if you pay later, the price is always greater.
Totally.
So it's like up to you. Totally could try to do it yourself, or you could follow a proven roadmap from someone that's done it already and been there before. So
it's kind of wild when you think about it, right? When you back in the day when it was efficient, right? If you want to become a blacksmith, like you go to a master and they train you, right? You want to become anything, you get trained. But like nowadays we don't, the Western society is so individualistic. It's like, oh, I'm on my own. I got to figure everything out on my own. Right. It's like, why though? Just like you said, go to somebody, learn from them for a little while, and then go on your own. And then maybe you could also teach other people too.
What about I think another big one is like the time aspect.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that? Because I felt that like by getting your energy up, by getting your mood and your focus and everything dialed in, by getting your hormones and your neurotransmitters, everything's balanced.
Yeah.
I think that, you could easily like 3 to 5x your productivity. So it's like, I hear the time thing a lot and I'm like, well, you have the time. First of all, you have the time, right?
Yeah.
It's just that you're allocating it to things that maybe are not as important or are not getting you closer to your goals. But it's also like, what if there was a way to get more efficient and get more out of the time that you have? And that's kind of like what made me start this company, is like success through health, right? It's like, I'll get you to be, increasing your sales targets and hitting all these things. And it's like, but how you're going to do it is you're going to get in the most crazy mental and physical shape.
Yeah.
And that's my philosophy. There's obviously more to the story, but when everything is dialed in and working the way it should be, there's no reason that you can't do that,
Yeah. I mean, we're like, our bodies are like vessels, right? Another way to like, we're like machines, right? So whether you're, a blue collar guy or you're just, you're working with your mind, or you're working with like, talking to people, it's like, you definitely want to get dialed in, right? You want to make sure that you're operating at the highest capacity. So for sure, and then, but the time thing is like, I always say, right, like what I love about like the online coaching model is that it eliminates certain barriers for people that can't work with someone actually in person one-on-one. Like if you could afford to work with somebody like one-on-one, like at the gym, you should just do that 100%. But that's cost prohibitive. That could be, lots of money. What I liked about when I started with you, it was like, I can't afford to work with somebody one-on-one at the gym, right? Like paying $100 a session. So let's create a program and let's check in every once in a while. So it's kind of the bridge to that, right? But I knew exactly what to eat. I could text you at any time. I knew what supplements to take. There was an online platform of workouts, when to go to the gym. it tracked all the PRs, right? So everything was efficient, and you were monitoring that, right, from the other side. So it was like, personal training at scale almost.
True. That's a good way to think of it,
In a
actually.
way,
Yeah.
right. So, and whatever I'm not sure how much you're charging now, but whatever that that was, it was worth it. It was worth every penny, So yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So I totally agree with you there. It's also, I think, the value that we're delivering here now is going to be very difficult to find in one source. You would have to go to like 4 or 5 practitioners and hope that you get good ones that are open-minded and know what they're doing to basically.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, let's dive into it real quick. So basically, it all starts with a DNA test and blood work. So gone are the days of generic advice, right? Because while a lot of this stuff has been battle tested through the years on myself and over 300 clients that I've worked with, everybody's different. Everybody's biology is unique. Everybody's circumstances and lifestyle is unique.
Yep.
I like data. I come from a science background.
Right.
I like numbers. I like to see things, and then I like to measure and track things, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like with the DNA test, we're able to get now with our new platform over 83 million data points. So like your personal trainer down the block or your doctor or your primary care physician, they don't have access to that. Yeah. They don't, so I know exactly what kind of diet would work best for you. I know exactly how many, your macro like split. Yeah. Should you be having more carbs, less carbs, somewhere in the middle? Supplements, right? I have, and then we plug in blood work, which is amazing. All you have to do is get follow the list that we give you. You could go to your own doctor. You could use ours. I mean, it's super simple. So it all starts with that. And then the other 2 components, which I really love, are the online community. So I'm trying to put together a place where all like-minded guys could come together and hopefully like really foster like a brotherhood. So to me, that's something that, when I started out, I feel like was lacking. Like it would have been cool to have that. Yeah. And it's great not only for your health journey, but just for like networking in general. Totally. And I think that there's, in my opinion, there's a lack of brotherhood these days. I think men need to be around other like strong men.
Community,
and have that sense of like, guys totally. Like pushing them to be, better and to do better. So we got that aspect. And of course, you touched upon the education. So we really, really, really put together something real cool. All of my kind of like crazy underground biohacks that I've come to learn through the years. Mm-hmm. Some of the stuff that if I say it here, I'll probably get shadow banned again. But, just really a lot of cool stuff that, like I said, you're not going to find this at your doctor's office or somewhere else. So, we've got something really cool that we built out. Took us a year and a half to get everything functional and running, but it's, really something revolutionary, I think.
Amazing.
That's what we're doing in a nutshell. I want to hear a little bit more about what are some things that maybe you have questions about as far as I don't know. Ask me anything.
Whatever. Yeah, totally. You know what's funny? Because like I feel like my education has continued even past like our coaching together. Right now, there's a couple of things I'm really interested in. Right. Maybe we could talk about that a little bit. I'm interested in like how different like ideal body fat percentage, how that affects like obviously there's such thing as too low for mental clarity, mental health, testosterone production, growth hormone, and there's such thing, obviously we know, too high, right? So like,
Yep.
what do you think, like for a guy like me, what's the perfect range, and what benefits, obvious and like some not so obvious, can you expect to see when you hit that range?
Great question. So there's a great chart where it shows you pictures of men.
Yeah.
And you could basically approximate your body fat.
Yeah.
Like I know how to calculate it within, pretty decent, interval. But I would say, having been sub 10% and seeing like, okay, yeah, I'm shredded. I have very defined abs. Like I'm feeling like, oh, every time I look in the mirror, like another ab pops out. And it's like, on one hand, that sounds amazing, right?
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, it's like, then the fatigue sets in. You have the crazy like cravings and hunger pangs, and your sex drive, and unless you're enhanced and you're taking exogenous testosterone or something, your sex drive is going to be in the toilet, right?
So sub 10.
Yeah, like those bodybuilders when they're on stage, some of them are like 6%, even, I don't know, maybe even less. And that's definitely not sustainable in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I guess this is a very long-winded answer, but so like sub 10, you may start to notice some things that you are not desirable.
Yeah.
So unless your goal is to compete, that's a different story. But like
not for me. No.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You're not doing that. A lot of the guys we
Trying
work
to be
with,
the best version of myself.
exactly.
That's it.
That's
in every aspect of my life. That's it. Yeah.
So yeah, if you get too low, we run into some trouble.
Yeah.
Now, as we get past 25%, 30%,
Yeah.
now what you'll start to see is you have a big gut.
Yeah.
You have the man boobs going on.
Yeah.
You have, so what that means is obviously a lot of fat storage, but what comes with that is your estrogen is probably very high.
Ooh, yeah.
So your female hormone as a man is probably not in the right ratio to your testosterone, or it could be negatively impacting your testosterone. So that's one issue.
Interesting. Yeah.
And also, you're just not going to feel that zest for life.
Right.
You're not going to feel energetic and confident and that like focus. Chances are you'll eat and you'll feel really sleepy after, and your brain is not really firing on all cylinders. So, that's kind of where it becomes problematic.
Which is crazy because I was reading the other day, like most of America is over 25% body fat. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some like crazy statistics that like in the next 5-10 years, like the majority of people will be clinically obese. So like,
which is why things like this is like, this needs to be government subsidized, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Not Ozempic.
yeah. But
anyway, so sorry, back to your question.
no, yeah. So there really isn't like a one size fits all answer that I could give you, but I would say like you want to be less than 20% just for overall health and aesthetics. The closer you can get to like 15, 12%, that's probably the sweet spot. You're going to look really good. You probably will have some decent, visible abs. Nothing too crazy like, 12 pack or anything like that. But I think that's the sweet spot, in my opinion.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about nutrition and blood sugar. Like, there's a big focus of mine right now. Anybody who knows me and listening to this is like, this guy beats it over the head already, right? Right, because I'm Jewish, and in my culture, there's a lot of emphasis on carbohydrates.
I'm Italian, dude. You're preaching to the choir.
So
you're preaching to the choir.
And holidays, Shabbat are such beautiful things spiritually, right? But on the physical, like 1% level, it's like we start the meal with like a heavy portion of like sugar bread, right? So I'm doing a lot of research, and I'm finding that like how different things affect my insulin production, and how that leads to me overeating or not really understanding my satiety mechanisms, or like when I'm full, when I'm not full. So like, what would you say for like, again, nothing crazy, but like for somebody like in my shoes, like how do you navigate that?
Yeah, so I've worked with a few clients who are Jewish, and have actually asked me the same question. They were, because we'll implement. Again, it really just depends on your situation. We may prescribe. So I've had clients, they were afraid, like, oh, but Shabbat, I need to eat the piece of bread or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna knock me out of ketosis. I'm like, you guys you're what's the saying? You're missing the forest for the trees or something.
Right,
something
yeah.
like that. It's like that's not gonna kill you, right? But an amazing question, because there's so many factors, which is all stuff that we obviously teach in the course. But for example, your stress can affect your blood sugar control, your sleeping habits. If you're sleep deprived, you're not going to process carbohydrates in the same way that someone who's sleeping 8 hours a day and getting that quality sleep.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just other hormonal factors. If your hormones are out of whack, thyroid is one of the big master regulators of metabolism. So if you have issues with thyroid, you may not process, carbohydrates efficiently. But there's a lot of great stuff actually that you could do because now, here's the thing about blood sugar. Blood sugar will affect, obviously, how you look and how you're storing fat and if you're losing fat, etc. But it also plays a big role in disease, so inflammation in the body and longevity, which is why, interestingly, there's a diabetes drug called metformin, which has been shown to extend lifespan.
Interesting.
And so this is just to goes to show you that there's some mechanism involving sugar control and insulin, right? And longevity. And also, they're now calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
So it's also affecting your mental performance as well.
Yeah.
So when your blood sugar is too high, you're not thinking clearly. You got that brain fog. You got that, you're like,
Yeah.
So as a high performing man, I mean, that's the last thing we want.
Yeah.
That's the last thing. So we want to get the blood sugar under control, right?
Yeah.
So how do we do that? Obviously, the easy stuff you could say is, oh, yeah, nutrition, of course.
Right.
Of course, nutrition. No brainer.
Protein, focusing.
Right. So focusing on protein, healthy fats. I'm a big proponent of animal products that contain protein and fats.
Yep.
Fiber, if indicated, right, based on your situation, could be good. So some non-starchy vegetables, for example, I don't know, zucchini, asparagus. Some people tolerate broccoli, cauliflower well. It all depends. It's very we take a very hyper-personalized approach. So I'm going to just talk in general here, but, for someone working with us one-on-one, you would get much more specific recommendations. But so yeah, nutrition, obviously, that's a big one. A couple of supplements that I really like here. Dihydroberberine. I might have actually put you on that when we were working together. Yeah. But dihydroberberine, great supplement. It's comes from a plant, and so it's sort of natural. Mm-hmm. And there's a ton of data that really support a whole bunch of positive side effects by taking it. So.
And you recommend that daily or before food or?
Yeah. So generally, it would be once per day, right before or during a carbohydrate-containing meal. So it's if you're not eating a bunch of carbs, you maybe don't really need it so much. It won't hurt you to take it, but where it really shines is that glucose control. So there's that. I was doing the apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, and Ceylon cinnamon.
Lime juice, you said?
Lime juice works as well.
Apple cider vinegar, lime juice, and what?
You could do lemon juice or lime juice. And it's a type of cinnamon called Ceylon, Ceylon, Ceylon cinnamon. Just shake it all up or mix it all up.
You'll have to send me that.
Yeah. And drinking this concoction right before your meal can reduce your blood sugar by like 30%, like the spike.
Wow.
After your meal. So
to all the Jews out there, have that before. Have
there you go.
Concoction before Shabbat.
There you go.
So you'll skip the dessert at the end.
Yeah.
That's so smart.
So,
yeah.
So there's, what else can you do? Exercise, resistance training. So the more muscle you have, the more, like, let's say, for example, you trained a huge muscle group like legs.
Yeah.
And you eat sugar, you know, in a few hour time frame following that workout, your body, you know, your muscles are going to soak up that sugar like a sponge. So it's not going to be, you know, it's less likely to be stored as fat.
Interesting.
And more likely that the muscle will use it.
When you say sugar, you mean like a sweet potato, or are we talking?
I mean, even candy. Like, there's bodybuilders that'll slam like pixie sticks after a workout. I don't personally agree with that, but
interesting.
It it has a purpose for them, I guess. So, so yeah.
What about something that's interesting? Sequential order of macros during how you eat.
Yeah. That's something that I talk about in the course too. And I got that from somebody. She's really great. Her name on Instagram, I think, is like Glucose Goddess.
Yeah.
I learned it from her.
Yeah, I love her.
And this one really hits close to home too, because my sister happens to be a type 1 diabetic.
Oh wow.
So we kind of like had to put her on a little regimen to control her sugar, because it was all like the numbers were all over the place. So so basically, according to, I forget her real name, I'm going to use her Instagram handle. According to Glucose Goddess, if you eat your veggies or your fiber first, and then the protein next, and then any carbs and any whatever like additional fats last, this seems to be the smallest spike, which is what we want. Yeah. We don't want crazy like peaks and troughs. We kind of want like more or less stable.
Yeah.
And that's when we're gonna, for health, but also we're gonna feel the best. Like our energy is gonna be stable, like our mood. A lot of stuff like we don't realize is regulated by this sugar. The more I'm talking, the more I'm thinking like, yeah, even mood.
Yeah.
You know, you've heard the term hangry.
Totally.
That's when you go hypoglycemic.
Yeah.
And you're like, I need sugar. I need food now.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what it is.
Yeah.
So,
or the feeling where like you haven't eaten anything and like you ate a bagel in New York, right? And you're like, I'm watching these new Instagram videos of people like showing how things spike their glucose levels, and like a bagel spikes at 40% or something like that. So like, and that affects your mood. Like you get high, essentially.
Yeah, and then in an hour or two, boom, you're hungry and feeling shaky and weird, and so yeah.
Because that's how like we all grew up, just like carbohydrates for breakfast.
100%, man.
Especially in New York.
Cereal and
BLTs,
bagels, bacon, egg, and cheese on a roll, like you know,
crazy. Wild.
That's you know,
with a sugary drink on the side. Yeah.
But yeah. So what else? What else are you researching these days?
So let's talk about the big dog. The number one thing that every man should be thinking about.
Oh,
right?
I'm ready. I know where this is going.
Testosterone.
Yes.
And growth hormone.
Yes.
Right. Talk to me about that. How, obviously, a guy like me, I personally have no interest in supplementation, or what is the term that you used?
Replacement, or
like extra. Like I just wanna I wanna take care of this car as much as I can. Optimize testosterone, growth hormone. You know. Sex hormone, everything, right? I want to be at the top of my game.
Yes.
How do you do that in a natural, sustainable way? All
right, cool. So I get this one a lot because there's a lot of misinformation out there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But for starters, if you're a guy and you're over 30, you need to check your total testosterone, your free testosterone. You need to also check other hormones like DHT, dihydrotestosterone, estrogen, progesterone. So it's a package deal. What I've found is a lot of people are coming to me lately. They're trying to get the blood work on their own. and the doctor's refusing to honor their wish to order the labs, which I find is a little bit weird. And yeah, so then the conspiracy theory part of my mind starts ticking. But I mean, without getting too far down the rabbit hole, if you're only ordering, for example, total testosterone and nothing else, we really don't have any data to go off. We don't really have a clear picture of like what's going on in your body.
Sorry to interrupt, but for the layman's, like myself in the room, can you just give a quick, practical explanation? What's the difference between some of these markers of what you're talking about?
So total testosterone is going to be a bigger number. And that's what everyone talks about generally.
Got it.
Like, oh, my testosterone is X.
Got it.
They're usually referring to that.
Yeah.
And right now, I think the normal range, and these labs keep on changing, these reference numbers, which is something I also talk about a lot. They keep just arbitrarily like fucking with them. But I believe they're saying that 300 to 900 nanograms per deciliter is considered normal. So
it's a big range, though.
It's a very big range. So first of all, if I'm 300 and you're telling me I'm normal, do I have symptoms of low testosterone? How's my performance? How's my mood? How's my focus? How's my sex life? Right? Like, these are all things, okay, I would be thinking. Now, it would stand to reason that if I doubled my testosterone and it was 600, I would feel better, right?
Double better.
Okay. Right. And if I tripled it to 900, shit, I'd feel even better, right? So this whole notion of like they tried to tell me, like I'll share a little bit about my experience with this. My number was hovering around 300 as like a 29-year-old man. This is like normal if you're like 70 years old.
Yeah.
So like just because the reference range now they're telling you, oh, it falls in this range, you're good. You're not. That's like honestly like you're not even honoring the Hippocratic Oath, which is like the first rule of, we learn this in pharmacy schools, do no harm. It's like you have a person coming to you, they're telling you they have all these problems, these issues. You're looking at their numbers, you're not ordering the right labs for them, and then you're telling them like, it's normal. I feel like you're doing that person a great disservice.
Yeah.
So that's like part of what I set out to fix.
Right.
Is like I don't have the ability to personally order labs, but now through my company, we have a way of doing it.
Right.
So if your doctor doesn't want to play ball, no worries, we got you. But regardless, so testosterone is bound to a protein called sex hormone binding globulin, SHBG. And if it's bound to this molecule, it's inactivated. So that's why you want to look at free testosterone. So yeah, I mean, the free testosterone is just as important, if not more important. And then, of course, you want to know your estrogen or your estradiol levels, because everything has to be sort of in balance.
Yeah. So
as far as raising your testosterone naturally, there's a plethora of ways to do it nowadays.
However, being at a lower body, like a good body fat percentage, good weight, good muscle, that's all affecting it, right?
All of that helps, but unfortunately we have a toxic environment where it may not be enough, which was the case for me. I was doing everything right, and it just simply wasn't enough. The free testosterone is almost, just as important, if not more important, because that's the one that could actually exert the effects on the body. So now you brought up a very interesting point about natural versus like, synthetic or enhanced, right? So in my experience, I've tried everything. There's certainly plethora of ways to raise your testosterone naturally. I'm happy to share a few of them. Like there's peptides, which is something like an emerging sort of thing in the wellness space, the biohacking space. So there's something like kisspeptin. There's something called enclomiphene, which is something you take orally. And there's also like something called HCG, which is interestingly, that's the hormone that checks for pregnancy for women when they pee on the stick. But if you inject that, it could actually raise your testosterone. Yeah, there's a few things, and then there's all these herbs. you know, like shilajit, pine pollen. You know, Huberman popularized a few of them, like Fadoja and what was the other one?
Ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha, Tonkat Ali.
Yeah.
So there's, you know, there's definitely no shortage of these natural test boosters. But to be quite honest with you, if you're somebody that like myself, testosterone of 300, quite frankly, that's very low.
Yeah.
You know, they'll tell you that's normal. If you raise your testosterone 30%, I mean, you're still super low.
Yeah.
You still might have symptoms and deal with issues. Depending on where you're at in your life, you got to make that choice. But for me personally, I'm not embarrassed to say that, like, be on testosterone for the rest of my life. I don't see myself coming off of it. Like, I could think of my life as like before testosterone and after. Like, that's how profound of an impact that optimizing this hormone, which some other people in the space have called it like the God molecule. Like, that's how important and for men. Like, it's so important because even on a mental and spiritual and like a conscious level, having low testosterone really messes with you as a man. So yeah, that's like really something that's like super overlooked. Like, when I hear guys and they've never checked it, or they have like a 300 and they're like, yeah, but my doctor said it's fine. And I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. And then I do a little prying. I'm like, I don't think it's fine. You know, like, and again, if you feel good and everything's working the way it should, then you know, nobody's saying like go inject yourself with testosterone, right? Like, but if you had a problem with your thyroid hormone, you would supplement with thyroid hormone, right?
Absolutely.
If you, like my sister, she's diabetic. Her pancreas doesn't produce insulin hormone. She takes insulin. Why is it, and I think you know the answer to this, but like, why is it that like men are not supposed to fix this hormone deficiency?
Yeah.
So
it's a great question.
We could speculate. They don't want
Interesting.
strong men. They don't want fully optimized men, healthy men walking around, right? They don't want you performing at your best. But again, that's whatever. That's neither here nor there. That's speculation. But yeah. So I think it really just depends. I think that there are a ton of great ways to raise your testosterone naturally, which if that's something that you're interested in, we can certainly help with that. But I think the real magic is in just the real thing. And not just the real thing, but there's also a lot of nuances on how to do that properly. Because I was going to a doctor who I found out later on, was just completely doing it wrong. Like, he was giving me an injection once every 2 weeks. So I would have these crazy high levels, and I would feel great for like 3 to 5 days, and then I would crash. And then as I started, again, learning, diving into it, researching, and I'm like, okay, this is all wrong. And so what do I do now? I inject probably every 5 days or so, and my levels are stable. So I always feel good. So again, this is why, you got to work with someone who knows what they're doing and has been, walk the walk, so to speak.
Yeah.
Great question. I mean, that's a big one, I think, because I work with guys only right now.
Yeah, the biggest.
So that's probably one of the biggest issues. Have you done any research as to like what causes, like why is the testosterone on such a decline on a systemic level?
Well, I think you said it earlier. I think we live in a very toxic environment, and that we could dive into the testosterone side of it, but it's just, our water system's messed up. I don't know if you heard the new head of the FDA. Our food system is disgusting, right? The food pyramid's backwards. The air is disgusting, right? Stress levels are through the roof. We're overworked, right? So I'm not generally a conspiracy theorist, but I could definitely. It's not crazy if you start telling me like this is intentional, right?
Yeah.
I hope it's not. I hope it's unconscious and just like we've made bad decisions as a society and we've got ourselves here.
Right.
But it could be intentional. But in any case, it doesn't change the fact that we have a systemic problem.
Correct.
And we need healing. We need to change. Do something about this, right?
Yeah.
I think it's important to understand that. I always say, right, like I always tell men, like, you need to get this checked. It's not about like you get blood work done. Like, what are you checking?
Yeah.
If you're not checking your, testosterone, estrogen levels, what are you doing? It's good to know that you could do all of that now, and it's accessible, and it's
100%. I'm a big proponent. You'll always hear me saying, test, don't guess. Test, don't guess.
Yeah. So I got a good question for you. Practical. What are like the top proxies or markers to know for our listeners right now to know that you're operating at the top capacity of your health, well-being as a man?
Oh, nice. Okay. I love it. Top 5. I mean, obviously, based on my story and my past, energy's up there. Energy's a big one. Like if you don't have energy, you feel like you can't get through the day, you're dragging your feet, like something's probably up. Mood. So if you're feeling like depressed or anxious, that's generally an indicator that you either have some gut issues, some neurotransmitter issues, or even hormonal issues. Could be even testosterone related.
Is volatility of mood part of that? Like,
no, because I think that's part of the normal human experience. I think it's more like consistently just like feeling not yourself, or not like you're feeling blah, like, or like, because it's not normal to feel sort of always down and or just like always anxious. That's definitely not normal.
okay, interesting.
Yeah, so there's that. Drive. So if you have goals and you're driven and you're able to push and like get things done, this is generally a good sign.
Yeah.
And so conversely, if you lost that zest and that drive, something might be a little bit awry. Sex drive is a good indicator of health, believe it or not. Fellas, waking up with morning wood is a great proxy for testosterone levels and for overall health, circulatory health, and all that, heart health, all that stuff.
Incredible.
Just resilience. Being resilient. Like life is gonna throw shit at you. I remember where it's like I would be like down in the dumps for weeks and like eat my feelings away and even drinking heavily and stuff like that. And it's like now it's like the past 6 months, if I were to tell you like the shit that's been going on.
Sure.
And it's like,
yeah. It's
just
like
keep it moving,
keep it moving.
Like it's like I look at it like a game of whack-a-mole. It's like, one pops up, you got to hit, and then like 2 more pop up.
Right.
Boom, boom. It's like that's just what life is. You know what I mean? And then if you're not able to handle that effectively, you may have some imbalances or something going on. And of course, just kind of how you look and how you feel, right? Like your confidence and just aesthetically, body fat percentage, muscle, stuff like that. If that's, not where you want it to be or where it should be, then something needs some attention. You know what I mean?
And that's where you could come in.
100%.
Yeah. Thank you. I encourage everybody, get yourself a coach. Doesn't have to be Frank, but it should be. He's good. Get help. If you're struggling in any way, if you keep hitting walls, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Get help. Society's changing very fast for the better. I'm generally, as you know, I'm very optimistic about things. I love the new administration that's come in. I think, I'm not getting political, but Robert Kennedy, the new head of the FDA, there's a lot of good stuff happening, and things seem like they're speeding up. And as a man or as a woman, but really we're focused on men's health, is like, we got to get these things worked out now, because if we don't, I fear that, a big shift is coming. If you don't know, then just working with somebody that could help is a good strategy. Yeah.
100%. Well, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for taking the time to come on, and this was fun.
Thank you for everything. Yeah. I appreciate it.